Hello, my name is Asahita Dhandhania and I am a student of Masters in Management and Strategy at the LSE. Today my topic is being a jack of all trades a master of none, and I want to clarify this misnomer and highlight a few positive attributes of being a jack of all trades. The main reason why I've selected this topic is because this is something which is not given much importance or thought, and it's just an accepted idea and people subconsciously work around it. A jack of all trades, a master of none, it's a figure of speech which is often used in reference for someone who is competent in very different skills but is not outstanding in any one of them. But what many people are unaware of is that this is just half the quote. The entire saying is jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one, and that is actually a compliment. A jack of all trades is a master of integration because he knows enough from all his many learned trades and skills, and he can bring the disciplines together in a practical manner. Now, throughout our lives, we've always been taught that we need to choose something and specialize at it. Think of the classic question that what do you want to be when you grow up? It's always asked as if there is only one answer to that. But that's actually not true. And many people believe that even though being a specialist has multitude of undeniable benefits, there are some people who still think that being a generalist can actually make you better in mastering certain skills, and the opportunity cost of being a generalist is not as high as it's considered to be. Now, I want to go over the difference between a jack of all trades and a master of one. A jack of all trades is a person who is competent in many different types of work. A jack can do a little bit of everything, but it often comes at the cost of never having the time to master one particular skill. So you probably know how to code, you can build furniture, cook your meals, and that is enough to get the work done. However, a person who is a specialist in one of these can obviously do it much better than you can. Now, a jack of all trades has a multidisciplinary approach and a broader knowledge base, and that helps him to think for out-of-the-box ideas. Now, comparatively, the same cannot be said for a specialist who may not be able to think as creatively as a jack of all trades can. And in today's world, it's the ideas that are most valuable. On the other hand, if you see that being a specialist can actually act as a catalyst for learning other types of skill, because then you have something to pull from, you have complex ideas that you can pattern match, and you have metaphoric analogies which can actually complete a picture. So the more you learn, the faster you learn, and we know that learning is not a zero-sum activity. Having multiple interests can actually prove to be advantages. While there are some people who will argue about the opportunity cost of being a generalist, however, this actually goes in favor of the generalist theory, even if you're learning at your maximum rate. If you're learning at your maximum rate, then with every craft, the deeper you learn, with every minute you're approaching mastery, but this is actually a process with diminishing returns. So would you rather spend time learning how to carve a door better than probably what you did last year, better by 1% or 2%, or would you rather spend that time in learning how to build the rest of the house? So this connective tissue between the skills is actually more valuable than just incremental gains in a specific practice. If you see from another point of view, being a specialist actually can often make you a boring conversationalist, and it makes your work kind of unrelatable if you do not have multiple perspectives to it and if you do not think of it in different ways. Now, jack of all trades, master of none, it's an artificial pairing according to me, because it's completely possible to be a jack of all trades and a master of many. If you look at the past, there are brilliant examples of Leonardo da Vinci, who was a world-class painter, a scientist, an engineer, and much more, and at the same time even Benjamin Franklin. So these are just two of the many forgotten examples, and in today's world, being a generalist is definitely making a comeback. And now I want to go through a few advantages that are actually there if you choose to be a jack of all trades. Firstly, you are adaptable. So if you are a jack of all trades, you are in a wide variety of jobs and situations, and there are a large number of fields in which if any problem arises, you are supposed to do something which is not normal, something which is different. So any kind of opportunity that comes up, a jack of all trades will probably be the first one to actually dive in and go for it. So essentially, being adaptable is being useful, and that's what we all essentially want to be. Secondly, I think we learn how to learn. Now, what do I mean by that? That every skill that we learn, the thirst for knowledge and curiosity actually makes you want to learn associated skills with it. And as time goes, you develop a sense of how to learn things in the most efficient way, so you can actually be good at what you eventually choose and end up doing. Thirdly, and most importantly, you fit well into leadership roles. Now, if you think of someone as a leader, you're going to probably imagine someone who has a lot of experience. And a leader who has a wide variety of skills and knowledge definitely has an edge over someone who's risen through the ranks by just doing one particular job. Was Steve Jobs a better programmer than any of the top coders in Apple? The answer is definitely no. But he had a wide range of skills, he had a multidisciplinary approach to work, and he could see the unseen interconnectedness. And that is what all these big picture generalists do. They predict, they innovate, and thus they rise to power the fastest. And at the same time, if you want to be your own boss, if you want to be an entrepreneur, having a multidisciplinary approach is the best way, because you probably need to hire less people, and it definitely gives you a jump start on your idea. Another advantage I would say, which is very relevant in today's world, is that boredom is considered a kind of a failure. And if you are in the same job doing it over and over again, it kind of reduces you to that level of boredom where you do not feel any kind of intellectual stimulation. So a generalist or a person who experiments with a lot of different things continuously has something to look forward to. And lastly, and most simply, I would say that being a jack of all trades is a lot of fun, because that person maximizes the peak experiences in his life and can actually enjoy the pursuit of excellence without relating it to any kind of material gain. But having said that, being a jack of all trades isn't perfect, of course. And the main disadvantage is that you are not a specialist, obviously. But that's the unfortunate reality, that it makes it a little difficult for you to land a job in today's world. Also, sometimes you get overwhelmed with all the things that you're trying to do, and this leads to two things. Firstly, it leads to burnout because of limited time and energy. Probably there will be one day when you just want to give up. And secondly, also it causes a lot of distractions, and you probably will wander off in another world of your own after a point of time. Now, everyone wants to hear a story of progression, that you were at a point A, you went to B, and now you're at C, and it's all aligned towards a particular career goal. All the employers who are going through our resumes or going through our CVs, they consciously or unconsciously want to look for a trend. They want to look for a story of progression, that you are slowly moving towards your career goal. And if you do not give them that story, then it's unlikely that you're going to win the admiration of the recruiters. But this approach is highly erroneous according to me, because there are many people who choose to take the checkered path and who have to go through 2, 3 or probably even 4 false starts before they can actually find their dream that's often so elusive. In this case, I want to cite the example of Richard Branson. He has a large number of businesses which range from airlines to fast trains, TV, broadband, bridal salons, space travels, etc. And all these businesses, even though they are successful, they are disparate setups. So on one hand, there's the default perception that domain knowledge is expertise, and on the other hand, we have all these real life experiences and examples that show us that much more diverse work is possible and successful. But we are in a kind of marketplace where other people's acceptance of our skills and their endorsement goes a long way in what we do further in our life. So how does a jack of all trades actually find himself in this acceptance matrix, which clearly favors specification? My advice to you is, how you tell your career story actually determines how you present yourself to the other person. So you can still go on telling them a story of your progression at the same time, which allows you to change paths in which you can actually learn, unlearn, and move in a fast working social and cultural environment. It's very important to have a clear idea on your skills and have a structure to the chaos that is there in all the things that you do. So the next time that you speak to someone, you can actually present that side of you to them, which will give you the most advantage. So it's a kind of branding yourself from being a generalist to a specialist and highlighting the skills which are relevant at that point of time. Obviously, being a specialist does have a lot of advantages and can give you an edge over the others, but in today's world, being a generalist is being more and more popular because employers are looking to cut costs and they want to hire someone who can not only do the work that they required to do, but can also dive in where any other kind of opportunity arises. So I want to conclude by saying that do not put on experimental blinders in the name of specialization, because it's both unnecessary and it's crippling, and it's perfectly alright to be too complex to be actually categorized. You might want to reconsider the notion that being a jack of all trades isn't as successful as a specialist would be, or if you do not agree with me, then you can continue gaining more experience and expertise in your respective field, but at the same time trying to broaden your dimensions and your horizons.